Welcome back to Franchise Tagged. Today we're going to be doing a 2-round mock draft, and I don't really want to dilly-dally too much, but if you've been enjoying the mock drafts, go ahead and hit like, subscribe to keep up with more of our draft content and post-draft content as I kind of cover the true landing spots of some of these players. But getting into it, we're on PFSN, going to be controlling all teams. We're going to go for 2 rounds, use the consensus board, and we're going to go ahead, lock in Fernando Mendoza, and I'm gonna also lock in Arvel Reese. I know that the stories kind of switched to being David Bailey. I still trust my gut with Aaron Glenn and all that to feel that Arvel Reese is kind of going to fit the defense, and they're gonna be more multiple in the front with him. So same old with my mocks, but I'm gonna stick to my guns. Next, I have the Cardinals, and I'm gonna have them take Francis Mauigoa. I'm back to reaching for tackle here. I don't feel like they're going to move back, and so they're going to take their guy where they are. That's at pick 3, and it's Francis Mauigoa. For the Titans, I think that David Bailey making it here. They've invested in the offensive line, so they're not going to take a second tackle. And I think that getting a running mate for Jermaine Johnson is in order. I like Sonny Styles to him. I still do, but it's a positional value battle, and edges are more sought after because of that contract money. So I'm going to take the edge here. And then for the Giants, I'm going to have them take Sonny Styles. I've harped on Harbaugh and, Caleb Downs as a scheme fit, but Sonny Styles really does fit the scheme as well. So I feel like taking Styles as an impact to the roster definitely helps. They're in the running for Jeremiah Love and for Caleb Downs and for Ruben. Of course, they can take anybody on the board with the roster right now, but I do feel like Sonny Styles adds a big, layer to that defense. Then next, I've got the Browns. I'm going to go ahead and have them. I'm shocked to not see it on the board here a little higher, but I'm going to have them go with Spencer Fano. I think that while I've favored them adding wide receivers, they could kind of do the inverse of what I've had them be doing, where instead of taking the wide receiver at 6, they take it later in the draft and they take the best tackle here. Fano could start for almost every spot of this offensive line out of the gates. You just have to find one that you think he's best at and stick him there. Then for the Commanders, I think they're pretty happy to get Caleb Downs here. I do see Jeremiah Love. I do see that talked about a lot, but I'm sticking to Caleb Downs. Today's not the day I let him slide very far. I just like him too much, and I think that while they have added to the cornerback room, safety hasn't had as big as a bump as much, but I think Caleb Downs, box safety, can kind of help the linebackers and also help the back end. So with number pick 8, I'm going to go Ruben Bain Jr. If not just for a reason I don't want to draft him to the Chiefs again, I have them taking Ruben Bain because of Cam Jordan's departure. So adding to the defensive line is a big need for them. And so you go ahead and you send that card in. And then for the Chiefs, I have them going and adding Carnell Tate. I think I'm giving the Chiefs a different vibe here for the draft, but I think Tate's a good choice. Xavier Worthy has not yet hit the ceiling that they had in mind for him, and he's a higher caliber prospect than Worthy, and I think he fills out the receiver room. Tate, Worthy, and Rashee Rice could be the best receiver room Mahomes has had since Tyreek Hill was traded away. Then we come to the Bengals, and I'm going to stick to something I did in my last one, which is have the Vikings trade up for Jeremiah Love after a bit of a slip. And I'm okay with it being a little expensive because the later round things, there's not as much value between them. I don't like that much of an overpay, but I will say this is probably fine. So we'll send that in, get that accepted, and get Jeremiah Love on the Vikings. I'm sticking to one of my previous mocks, and I think this can go down for sure. With the corner situation in Miami, Mansour Delane, he stopped Storm Duck from being your main outside corner guy, so that's a win. And then at number 12, I'm gonna have the Cowboys add Dylan Thieneman. I think that they are targeting someone to add to the secondary, and I really like him. I've seen him shooting up boards as well. With the Rams here, Makai Lemon is a very popular one, but I'm actually going to add Kenyon Sadiq. This is a team that runs a lot of 13 personnel, so to me, it's an easy choice to add one of the most talented tight ends and really improve the thing that you do most. That means that here I've left. I've tried. Vega Ione is another pick I haven't really changed off of because I keep having him be available at 14 and it just really screams what the Ravens need, so that feels like a no-brainer there. And another one I'm going to stick to is Akeem Mesidor to the Buccaneers. I think that they could trade back, but you don't want to miss out on Akeem Mesidor for them, so adding an older guy who has the whole tool bag makes sense to me. Then next, Makai Lemon is here. Makai Lemon is no longer here. I think that the Amon-Ra St. Brown comps could ring true. And while the Jets offloaded the offensive coordinator who was a former Lions coach, I think that Glenn still could fall in love with someone who looks so much like something that worked so well when he was at Detroit. And then at pick 17, I have the Lions. And while Monroe Freeling is here, I'm going to take Caden Proctor. I feel like he's just a tackle that is a big need. And it seems like a better scheme fit for the team than Monroe Freeling. At pick 18, I have the Bengals here after their trade back, and they're still lucky to get a top 3 corner in the draft at 18. Despite injury concerns, I think that McCoy is one of the best, and it makes sense that he'd be the second one off the board. At pick 19, I have the Panthers going with Jordan Tyson, slipping down the board because of injuries, but I really do think that he is a big addition, and I think that he, alongside with Ted McMillan, would really add a lot of firepower to the offense. Next, with the Cowboys, I see that I've already addressed the back end. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a little reach on linebacker, which is definitely their biggest need. I'm going to have CJ Allen go here. And then next for the Steelers, I'm not very high on the whole Ty Simpson thing, so I'm going to have them go with Monroe Freeling. Really pick another big Georgia tackle and see if we can get someone other than Jones to fill out that full offensive line. Maybe Monroe Freeling makes an impact in there immediately. And then with the Chargers, I'm going to have the Chargers trade down. Bears looking to move up with them. And I think it shouldn't cost too much. Granted, they don't have that much firepower in this giant gulf. But I'm going to have them trade back for that. And yeah, the Bears are moving up here to get their guy, in my opinion, and that is going to be Caden McDonald. I feel like with the Eagles' tendency to lean trenches, it definitely gives credence to the Bears making that minor little jump there. And then with the Eagles here now, I'm not super high on Falk, so I'm going to have them go with Omar Cooper Jr. With all the noise around A.J. Brown, and I think it could definitely be a possibility here. So Omar Cooper Jr. Then, as I had the Browns already add to the offensive tackle room, I'm going to have them add to the wide receiver room. And while Casey Conception's here, I'm going to have them add Denzel Boston. I just think that he kind of would fit better for what they would need. Now we've got the Chargers here after their short drop down, and I'm going to have them add to their biggest need, which is going to be offensive guard, and I like Pregnon for them. I really do. So after the short drop, they're able to shore up their interior offensive line, and they do so without the complications of projecting a tackle to the inside. So I think this reaches down the board, but they got an interior offensive lineman who's athletic, meet the measurables. It works out. And then for the Bills, I'm going to have them add Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I think that they really could use that safety, and this would fill out the biggest need for them. So, makes sense there. Next, we have Caleb Lamu, who's going to go to the 49ers. I think that this is kind of a dream scenario. They need all additions to the offensive line. While this isn't the perfect prospect that can slot in next to Trent Williams, they get an athletic player that can fill out their offensive line if need be. We don't know what's going to happen with the Trent Williams situation, but he's not going to play forever, so Caleb Lamu is a good successor. All right, and I've done it before for the Texans, and I'm doing it again. Jacob Rodriguez, I like him as a first-round linebacker. I really do. I really like his high character, his high football IQ. He's great in coverage. It's a full package, and the two linebackers on the Texans roster don't extend past this season, so I think that getting a future guy there, that means that you don't have to extend them and put money towards that. I think that works out. Then when it comes to the Chiefs, I don't like Keldrick Falk per se. I prefer Zion Young, so I'm going to go ahead and take Zion Young. I didn't get to have them select Bain like always, and so I think that Zion Young and Carnell Tate is a good duo to exit the first round with. I wouldn't say that Zion Young is exactly what the Chiefs look for in their edge rushers, but their edge rushers aren't exactly super productive, so maybe it's best you break that mold. Then for the Dolphins, I have them adding Blake Miller. I like him, uh, and I think he's a good enough tackle. That means that you don't have to start Austin Jackson, so it's immediate improvement for the offensive line. And then we come to the Patriots. I'm going to have them trade down as we look to the Cardinals to move up into the first round to get that extra contract flexibility. And they probably don't need much. Oh, I think they need quite a bit, actually. Or we'll do that. And once that goes through, I think that we're not going to let Jacoby Brissett start for the full season. So you follow the Patriots' lead. Jacoby Brissett starts for half the year, put Ty Simpsons in, and see what you got. With the Seahawks at 32, sorry, I didn't even make the pick. Ty Simpson. With the Seahawks at 32, I like corner for them, and I kind of like Chris Johnson. I think I like the speed. He's not exactly, you know, I see the need at running back, right? But I like Charbonnet, and I I just think that the opportunity cost is not here for them to take a running back and get a fifth-year option on Jadarian Price. I just don't like it that much. So Chris Johnson, I think, is the better fit here. And then for the Jets, I'm going to have them actually add corner as well with Avion Terrell. Last mock, I had the Jets make this pick at 16 because I like Terrell, but I think with him available here, it's an all-time draft class for the Jets. Although we've been there and done that with the Jets. Now that we're here with the Patriots, I'm going to have them add to their offensive line. It's going to be Max and Hanekar. I messed it up somehow, but I'm not going to retry it. Maybe they take Will Campbell to the inside, or maybe he's just the future behind Morgan Moses. Either way, he's new to the sport of football, so I think that he needs some room to grow, and either way, they're going to get a great player out of him once he does get that growth. Now I'm going to have the Titans add Casey Conception. Already had them add, was it the David Bailey? Yep, I did have them add David Bailey, so those edge needs are kind of subsided, and you're going to add to the wide receiver room, get Cam Ward more weapons. So good striking range for someone to trade up, but I think that the Titans need to add playmakers. So he makes plays with the ball in his hands, he separates, and he's the cream of the crop of the wide receiver class right now. Yeah, it's kind of a big gap, at least in terms of big board rankings there. Next, we come to the Raiders, and Peter Woods is available here. Keldrick Falk, yes, but I don't really like it, can't lie. So I'm going to go with Peter Woods there. They can take a swing and hope that he can return to form after his last year of college football. And, when he's lined up next to Max Crosby, it's going to be hard to not, have some additional help because Max Crosby is going to get all of that attention. You're lined up on the inside. He'll probably get some one-on-ones even on the inside and get some wins off of those. But with the Giants, I also am going to have a little bit of a run on D tackles. Christian Miller. I think that they will breathe a breath of fresh air as they get to pick Christian Miller, another D tackle, but one that has a better run-stopping play style. And that's something that the Giants will need after having a poor run defense last season and with the current issues with Dexter Lawrence. Now, I'm not projecting Dexter Lawrence to be traded anywhere in this mock, but I do want to keep that in mind as it comes around. Like, okay, he may or may not be there. Let's add a D tackle. Of course, they're not in the position to do that at 5, but at 37, perfect range for that. Then next we've got Houston Texans, who I last had take Jacob Rodriguez. I understand, maybe a bit of a reach, but I really like him, so that's my opinion. I'm going to have them to add Chase Basantis, though. It really could be D tackle or interior offensive line, but D tackle just went twice before this, so that would be a tad of a reach in my opinion. So I think they go ahead and they take Chase Basantis, one of the best guards, pure guards, and I think that that's something undervalued given all of the talks about tackle to guard. I think being a pure guard has value in itself. So the Texans use this pick, they use that pure guard value, and, apologies to Houston's fans for taking a guard and taking a linebacker. Might be a little reachy. Positional value is not quite there, but, that's what I feel, and I would like it. It's my personal opinion. I would like that draft for them. For the Browns, I'm going to have them add Keldrick Falk. I think that my Falk agenda can end here. I'm not going to, go out of my way to keep making him slip. I just kind of value other players on the board over him. But for the Browns, they get a physical presence next to a resurging defense with all of the rookies they had last year, plus Myles Garrett. I think Falk learning from Myles Garrett and alongside everybody else in that defensive line, he could develop really well. He could be really good for them. At 40, I have the Chiefs taking freaking 30 on the big board. Colton Hood. Now, this is one that I always have them take near the end of the first round. I think 11 picks later, you get a guy that fits your scheme and can be an immediate impact starter after McDuffie's departure. And you didn't have to miss out on any top tier edge rusher, like my opinion of Zion Young. And you get Carnell Tate. Man, I said I was liking the Jets. I'm liking the Chiefs as well. Then we come to the 41 with the Bengals. I'm going to have them add, not corner, safety. And AJ Halsey's right here. And I like that. I think that while we could see Jadarian go here, I'm not banking on it. I feel like a lot of the running back talk for the Bengals is because it's Jeremiah Love. And now I'm not like in love with Chase Brown, but I think, the value of running backs here is just not really a thing. And so that kind of left me with safety as a choice here. So he's not a box safety. He's one of those pure deep safeties. His ball skills are great, and he will help out the secondary. Now, when it comes to the Saints, I had them add Ruben Bain. I feel like they're probably in the market for some extra weapons for Tyler Shugg, and I like Chris Bell. I think that after adding Bain on defense, you can move past that, and the juice comes from Chris Bell on offense. He's athletic, he's got size, length, he's a yak threat, and all of these things will help Tyler Shugg build on his rookie campaign. Now we've got the Dolphins here. I've got the Dolphins going to make a short little jump backwards. They've already got a lot of draft picks here. I'm going to have the Ravens jump the Jets here for this. And they really don't need much. That seems like a good enough, honestly. Give them 40 more. There. Yeah. I'm going to have the Ravens move up here because the Dolphins they already got their corner. Brandon Cisse is right here. And I think that the Ravens could definitely use a corner. They addressed interior offensive line. I think that Marlon Humphrey is a surprise that he's still on the roster, especially with how his quality has been waning in recent years. I think Cisse offers a good future as well as a player to maybe displace Marlon as the starter during this season. D'Angelo Pons, I'm not very high on. Ashes Howell, I'm not very high on. So I'm looking at some of these names that are technical slips based on the board here. I am gonna have the shocked that they got Jerry and Solo, but neither here nor there. I'm gonna have the Jets add defensive guard. I feel like, I originally had Anthony Hill Jr. go here. The whole thing I typed up to defend myself. Where is he ranked? 52, so it's not that bad. I think Keelan Rutledge was a little lower, but he's good size. Keelan Rutledge does. He's got great athleticism. He would impact the line of scrimmage immediately, and I would have targeted interior D tackle for them because of the departure of Quinnen Williams, but it feels like there's not really on the board. Caleb Banks, I guess, could be a bit of an injury risk that they might be willing to take, but I think just adding to the interior offensive line, preparing that line for 2027 when you get your next guy, your quarterback of the future in there. Then with the trade back, I'm going to have the Dolphins add to the wide receiver room. I'm going to have them add Jeremy Bernard. I think that it's hard to pinpoint a specific type of wide receiver for this new Dolphins regime. But I land on Jeremy Bernard. He contributes to the run game with the blocking, so immediately contributes to the only good thing the Dolphins are probably going to have going for them next year. And then he isn't the biggest or fastest, but I don't know. Jeff Hadley comes from Green Bay, so he doesn't really know anything about a team that utilizes their biggest or fastest wide receivers. So, cough, Matthew Golden. So Bernard is good at finding soft spots and getting open. He'll get the ball a lot as a rookie in this room. Kind of see him just finding those short little hitches, catching the ball, getting a few yards upfield and getting tackled. But that's a chain mover, in my opinion. I really like that. And I feel like the Dolphins will definitely need that. With the Bucks here, who did Akeem. I had them take Akeem Mesidor. I'm going to have them add to the cornerback room. I don't like D'Angelo Pons. Size issues. Kate Stott, I don't really know a whole lot about. And as we get in this later bit, there'll be more and more players I don't know a whole lot about. But I do like Jaden Stukes. There's a lot of really short corners left. I mean, Keith Abney isn't very athletic, and D'Angelo Pons is super short. So Jaden Stukes, to me, he's athletic. He's got great technique. He's got injury concerns, but the tools are worth the risk at this point of the draft. So I take criticism of the pick. I'm open to it. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. But that's kind of what I like. Then I'm finally gonna have Anthony Hill Jr. go after fighting for him to go way earlier. The Colts are in a tough spot. They traded away Michael Pittman, and I see Elijah Surratt here, and I really like that. But I feel like this board had him very low. Yeah, 73 is not as low as I would have thought, but still, there's a lot of wide receivers ahead of him. So I'm not sure if it's just like a me thing that I really like Elijah Surratt. But then we come to the Falcons, and I think my Detroit Lions, I'm going to have shoot up board, just one pick, get ahead of the Vikings. And yeah, I'll throw some extra comp in that last round pick. It's only 2 spots, right? So I'm going to have them move up and take TJ Parker. I think that the Falcons could have drafted Parker themselves due to the issues with James Pierce Jr. But the Falcons need more capital in this draft. So while I didn't give them that in that trade, I mean, I really could have if I wanted to be nicer. But since the little trade thing told me, hey, it's good, I was like, cool, it's good. But yeah, I think realistically they would get a lot more than that because the Lions are jumping the Vikings, so there's going to be a little ransom on that. But I like TJ Parker. He's sound against the run, and so when I've got the choices when I'm moving up as the Lions between Cassius Howell, Akis, Lawrence, TJ Parker, that's a pretty good group to have a pick of the litter of. But I like TJ Parker. I feel like he would fit what the Lions would kind of seek, so that's why I made that pick. With the Vikings, I have them adding Lee Hunter. Ironically, he was the big board rank 49. He went at 49. I think the Vikings could use some beef in their interior defensive line, so I have them adding that. Lee Hunter's really powerful. He can eat up blockers. He closes rushing lanes, and he even gets some penetration, gets after the quarterback by doing so. So I think he fits that general Vikings thing of like, okay, they got more meat in the middle, and they also add pass rush. It's always about pass rush. It's always about impacting the passer with Brian Flores' scheme. So with that, then with the Falcons, I'm gonna have them do it. I don't like D'Angelo Pons. I don't like the size. I don't like the first percentile of shortest people to play this position. So it's really hard to make that. But I feel like in terms of skill, when you're not looking at the size, you're looking at skill. The other comparable corners in skill are already gone. So I think D'Angelo Pons makes a lot of sense here. So that's where I feel. Don't flame me in the comments too hard for it. But at pick 51, Caleb Banks is here. So despite the third injury, I mean, Caleb Banks put up an insane RAS score, the combine. And so, I think that putting him behind the 2 Brown brothers at the interior defensive line of the Panthers might give him time to grow. It might give him time to not have to be forced into a lineup to play hurt. And so his technique can grow and he can become a real impact starter for the team down the line when you couple added technique and athleticism. So I think that the Panthers, sneaky good draft for them. Jordan Tyson at 19, and then you get Caleb Banks at 51. I'm liking him. Then when we're on the board for the Packers, I mean, Howell, Akis, Lawrence, all options. you know. But I think that DB need is a lot stronger than edge, and I'm gonna have them add someone quite down the board, I guess. Whoa. See, I didn't know he was this low on the board. I can't lie. I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna stick to my gut. But I'm adding a lengthy, speedy guy that helps in run defense, and that's a big reach down the board. But I am allowed to disagree with the board. I feel like that's a lot. I would definitely have him above him. So yeah. Anyways, we'll move on with the Steelers. Steelers, who I had add Monroe Freeling. I could see them add to the trenches. There's a lot of good ones here still available. Mason Thomas as well. But I'm actually going to have them add to the wide receiver room with Chris Braswell II. The Tennessee system doesn't do Braswell any favors here. But I think that McCarthy, the system you'll have with the Steelers, could definitely rely on more wideouts than years past. So they get a burner, they get a fast one, and an extra one in the room. Kind of brings something different than I think Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf do. Then with the Eagles here, Cassius Howell, he's right there. I think he's a speed first kind of rusher, and the Eagles could add someone like that to the rotation. They do lean power a whole lot, but I think he's able to get upfield enough to force the quarterback to move in the pocket. And if he does that, quick, fast with that speed first rush mentality, then the rest of the pass rushers who are bulldozing over their people, that's going to suffocate a pocket away. And that quarterback has to get moving through that pocket, and it's collapsing around him. So, I think the Eagles getting a really athletic edge rusher middle of the second round here. Well, that's unfortunate for everybody else, but it always happens for Eagles. They always have good drafts. Next, we're here with the Chargers. I'm going to have them take Gabe Backus. I think they're the only team that scheduled him for a top 30 visit. Well, I don't put a lot of stock in those. It happens to align with the board at this point. So I'm going to have them add, to the trenches here early in the draft. Already had them add to the interior offensive line, show up that problem. Have them add a Khalil Mack, future replacement there. So I like it. Then we're here with the Jags, and I'm going to have them be the ones take Jadarian Price. The Jadarian Price has slid in this mock. I'll acknowledge that. But I will say that a lot of teams spent money on running backs in this offseason, knowing what the class was. And the Jaguars are not one of those teams. I think they could leverage the fact that Price is still here and allow him to be available and scoop him up because they're happy about it. They didn't have to play SEN, and so now they go ahead, got Jadarian Price. And now we're here with the Bears, and with those edges that were available, I'm going to have them add Malachi Lawrence. He's right there. Like, this isn't their only need. I've really added to the defensive line with this draft, with the first pick being Caden McDonald. But I think shoring up that defensive line is a priority for the team. And so Lawrence's pass rushing style pairs well alongside Montez Sweat. Then for the 49ers, how low is he? How much of a reach? It's only like 25 picks. Live. I like Elijah Surratt. So I think that the 49ers added some short-term wide receivers. Mike Evans, Kirk, and I mean, Mike Evans, 3-year deal, 1 year out, and he's older. So I could see that being utilized. They could still use cheap weapons for coming years, and Elijah Surratt would be a good receiver who would fit the scheme. He's a good blocker, something that the 49ers value. And so I think that could definitely be an addition they make. Now, with the Texans, I had them add interior offensive line on the second round. I had them take a linebacker in the first round, so, pitchforks, torches, all of that. Dominique Orange isn't that big of a reach. I'm going to take it. Yeah. Big citrus. He brings some run stopping to the Texans front. They currently have a lot of 3-techs, interior defensive, disruptors. And I think that, Dominique Orange kind of adds a bit of variation, gives you more flexibility to line up against jumbo sets to line up on just pure rushing downs, obvious rushing downs. And so he's not going to be a super big part of the defense, not going to be used 3 downs, but he'll be a situational guy that comes in a rotation and can eat up blocks and be a brick wall on rundowns. So I think it's something that they maybe haven't valued, but could definitely use to be more flexible, be more versatile on their defensive front against those run looks. Then we're here with the Bears at pick 60. Now I'm going to have the Steelers trade back up. I think that the Bears could be looking to trade down to really mend that gulf that I talked about, especially after that trade up. So they're going to move up 16 picks. And let's add a couple picks to that gulf. Well, that might be a bit much. That's not enough, though. So I think it's going to be that. Maybe throw in one of these as the constellation. Pretty close in value offered. They might look to get... well, that's perfect. So Bears traded back. So they fill out more draft picks later in the round there. And the Steelers, they move up to select a linebacker. I think that the trade down fits here. The Steelers have excess capital. They can afford to move up. And the linebacker's right here on the board. He has the athleticism to affect passers on blitzes and stuff like that. He may not be the best coverage backer, but I think that he adds a good little rotation as well to the Steelers. More variance, like I was kind of talking about for the Texans in the front, but this is more variance in the box. So you've got more kinds of blitzes you can throw and just adds more ways of getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. Then we've got Josiah Trotter right here for the Rams, the linebacker. He's similar. I think he's got fantastic athleticism. He's pretty physical. He's great at tackling. And, while Goldie and Trotter both suffer in pass coverage, that's why I don't anticipate them being early starters. They're going to be those rotational guys that make impact plays through blitzes. And I think that, that's with the Rams front that they already have. You add in an extra guy in there, and especially when he's a rookie and there's not much tape out to be like, oh, this guy's the guy that always blitzes. I think that could definitely be a big impact. With the Broncos here. Broncos, this is the first one of the draft because, yeah, they traded away pick 30 to the Dolphins. A lot of options. I mean, Eli Sowers is right there. I don't love it. I'm going to have them take Caleb Tiernan. I could see them adding to the defensive line to maintain a strength. I could see the linebacker room being targeted, but linebackers just kind of got picked over right before this. And so while, Eli Sowers could be targeted, he's not my favorite. And I feel like when you added Jalen Waddle, you might be a little more keen on not adding weapons early on, especially with pick 2. Your second round pick and your first pick. So I feel like tight end isn't really the focus right now. And so you want security. You want to continue having a good offensive line. And Caleb Tiernan maybe won't crack into the starting lineup as a rookie. But if you have injuries, he can operate as a swing tackle. He can maybe even play inside lineman if you need him to. So it secures protection in the future for Bo Nix, the franchise quarterback. And now here we are at pick 63. I'm going to have the Patriots at R. Mason Thomas. I think that he can yield early pressure, often pressure, and he contributes on the run game a fair bit. So while it's not enough to keep him on the field for early downs, given the rotation he's joining, I think that he's not going to be exposed if he is on those early downs. I could see wide receiver here, but I feel like they have enough ammunition to move up for a wide receiver in round 3, and any of the people of this group I wouldn't want to see go in round 2, if that makes sense. Then when we come to the Seahawks, I have them adding to the interior offensive line, something I feel like they could do at the end of the first round. There's the talk of Jadarian Price there. I had them go somewhere else, but I think Jennings Dunker also good pick there. He could slot inside next to Zabel and really give them a better running game with Zach Charbonnet. To open up bigger holes and allow Charbonnet to get more steam running And so, and whoever you may be drafting the day 3 to play running back for you might get some rotational snaps there and get some help. But I tried to pound through this first round as quick as I could to make it to the second round, so we could dilly-dally a little bit more there. Not a lot of new things that I did here. No big new surprises, maybe. I think maybe the biggest surprise would be on Kyle Lemon to the Jets halfway there. And 2 safeties going top 12 could certainly be in the running there. Yeah, I feel like round 2 is more so. I like my round 2. I think I had a few trades going on and could definitely see them maybe not being what happens. Mostly because it was like a 2-team jump, and then that was the one big jump. But yeah, let me know what y'all think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed, go ahead and hit subscribe. Yeah, I feel like I enjoyed my second round here. And next week, the week right before the draft, or sorry, this is technically the week before the draft, days before the draft, I'll be posting my final mock draft. The one that I'm trying to be 100% accurate on in that first round. So stay tuned for that one next week. Thank you.